So what we've got to think about is, what do candidates actually want from a recruiter's service? Well, typically they want three things. They want the right solution, which is the right job. They want it at the right time, which doesn't necessarily mean in terms of time of their life, but it also means the timing of how we work with them day to day. And if they're in a contract or a temporary role, it could mean not only do they want to start at the right time, but they want to be able to finish at the right time as well. And lastly, you've got the feeling that the candidate has towards yourself and the service that they've received. And often recruiters fall back on the fact that, well, I got them a job, didn't I? I got them the rate that they wanted. But forgetting how a candidate feels about your service and how they feel about the experience is absolutely key. So everything we talk about when we talk about candidate relationships is really about you working on improving the feeling of the service you deliver, not necessarily the technical discipline of getting the candidate a job and paying them their weekly timesheet. So first thing we've got to do is think about, well, what are candidates' motivators for moving? Well, there's two sets of motivators for candidates. You've got the push factors, which are the factors that encourage them to want to leave their employer, and you've got the pull factors, the things that draw them to a new opportunity. Each of them has an important part to play in you building a strong relationship with a candidate. So let's look at push factors. Push factors are the things that make a candidate unhappy in their current position, that encourage them to want to look for a job. So the biggest push factor a candidate gets is typically the manager that they work for. If someone's unhappy with their manager, it's often cited as the most common reason why people will look for another job. You've also got the team that they work in, the organisation that they work for. So it could be there's not enough stability. It could be they don't believe in progressing or investing in people. You've also got the role that they do, the money that they're paid, and the nature of the actual job that they do in terms of leveraging the qualifications and experience that they've got over time. So when you're talking to a candidate about what they want from their next job, it's important first and foremost you understand what they're looking for from their next role. Having this information about their motivators is key, not just to help them look for a job, but when it comes to conversations around the counteroffer and coaching the candidate through the resignation process, through to the starting of an opportunity, you need to make sure that they're really clear about why they don't like their current role, to defend against any counteroffer or a sweetener that their boss might use to persuade them to stay. On the other side, you've got the pull factors, and these are a lot more inspiration orientated. This is the promise of what they want from tomorrow. It's the things that they aspire to. And it could be they aspire to work for a bigger company or a small company. It could be they aspire to pick up new skill sets, or aspire to get more flexibility in the hours that they work or the location that they work in. And so when you've got the pushes, which are the negative motivators for a job search, and the pull factors, which are the positive aspirational motivators, you've got everything that you need to match what you want, what a candidate wants from their next job search. The motivators also weigh differently when you're working with different types of candidates. So when you're working with an active candidate, the push factors are already quite high with that candidate, and they're high enough and have been going on long enough that's made them want to look for a new opportunity. Once you have a candidate's push motivators and you have their pull motivators, you're able to begin working with a candidate in a unique way that enables you to specifically match their needs, whether it be the negative motivators or the positive motivators. You need to be able to adapt your style and your approach dependent upon whether a candidate is active or whether they're passive in the market, because their motivators will be different. Active candidates are already looking for a job. The push factors have got to the stage where the status quo is no longer bearable, which means the draw of the pull factors don't need to be as great, because the candidate's already made the decision to leave where they are at the moment. When you're working with a passive candidate, the status quo may not be that bad. So the draw of the pull factors, the size of the opportunity, the skills that they're going to learn, need to be exponentially greater because you've got to pull the candidate from their existing employer. If you think of it like glue, when a candidate has very strong reasons for leaving because they're unhappy, it's a bit like there's nothing sticking them to the opportunity that they're at the moment. Which means if they want to go over to a new role, the force to pull them across doesn't have to be very high. If you imagine a candidate that you approach that isn't actively looking at the moment, they're probably pretty well stuck to that role because they haven't made the mental decision yet to leave their existing opportunity, which means that you've got to pull them away from somewhere where they're quite happy, which means that the pull has to be significantly greater. And so later, as we look at how you approach active candidates and how you approach passive candidates, we need to keep front and centre of our minds our awareness of the push factors and the pull factors within a candidate's job search. So if you imagine the standard recruiter delivers a service which generally involves getting a CV, a phone call to screen them and talk about what they're looking for, and then putting them across to the client. And if that's the standard level of service, what are you going to do to add value to a standard service to make you look better than everybody else? And so what I'm going to do now is talk about some of the things that you could do to add value to make yourself look better.